Okay, so we were just talking about these two lines here. So remember that stooping downward to build up everything that has been knocked down, being resilient. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss. So this one is actually a reference to gambling, and here gambling is a bigger metaphor for taking big risks in life. So even though you may not literally be like sliding your poker chips across the table, what it's saying here is that if you've worked really hard for something, and maybe it does take a lot of your energy and your money resources, and you risk it on one dream, that sort of like one chance to really do what you want and to really have a good turnover and a big reward for your risk and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. These two lines kind of echo the ones that we just read on the previous slide that talk about essentially when something you have worked for doesn't work out or gets broken or goes downhill or you lose a lot of something, but then you keep going. So here it's saying that yes, did you make a big risk? You sure did, and that was very brave of you. But you lost, and so now you have to start at your humble beginnings and not complain about it because you did take that risk. And though it didn't work out, you probably learned from it and you're going to try again. So essentially, these second two lines here, this is kind of like going back to your roots or your beginning and just not being a sore loser, accepting loss and trying again. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long before they are gone. So sinew is a piece of tough fibrous tissue uniting muscle to bone or bone to bone. It's a tendon or ligament. So it's used a lot when it's talking about people's hard physical work or people's whole being. So if you can force your whole self to serve your turn long after you're gone. Serve your turn here means do your duty or service. So if you can work really hard in this life to build a legacy of service that kind of keeps giving back to the world after you pass away. And hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. So when you yourself are like, I can't, but there's a will inside you that says to your heart and nerve and sinew, don't stop, hold on. So why is will capitalized here? No, it's not a name. You don't have like an inner voice inside you named Will who's like, yo homie, don't give up. No, no. Will here is willpower. So when you want to quit so bad and you're tired and you're weary, but you say, no, I will go on just out of sheer will. That's what that means. So remember we had triumph and disaster capitalized, and that was kind of turning them into like people figures, so they held a lot of weight. So you could look them in the face. The same thing is going on here with will. He's making that a proper noun. He's giving it a bigger place. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose your common touch. Walk with crowds, you can think about this as like participating in society and groups. So if you can participate in society and groups and crowds and keep your own personal virtues, or if you can walk with kings, here meaning either be a part of or work with the rich and powerful in the world, but not lose the common touch. So if you are elevated in society, don't lose, I guess we can say this. If you're from around here and maybe you become a pop star, look at that. Don't lose your roots. Don't lose that common touch with so many common folk. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. So if all men count with you, this kind of means like treating everybody fairly. So counting every single person, regardless of race, class, whatever, counting them as people, recognizing them as human beings and treating them as so. But none too much essentially means here that you don't have idols who are people. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds, with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So the unforgiving minute here with 60 seconds worth of distance run is even for the shortest, most seemingly meaningless sections of time, you're still moving forward, you're still working hard. If all of these things, all of those stanzas before, if you do those, if you can achieve them, then yours is the earth and everything is in it. And you'll be a man, my son. I'll be a what? A man? I am no man. That's from Lord of the Rings, by the way. That's Eowyn. Go figure. But so let's dive into this here. Yeah, it's a great lead up, poor ending if you're not a man. But let's go back to that question that we asked at the very beginning. What does it mean to be a good, strong human? So sure, this poem might have originally been about noble coming-of-age manhood, but if we change manhood to mankind, we get the answer to our question. So a lot of times in historical reference, it's very male centered. So it will use words like man to mean like humankind, people. So if we think of it in that way, then this really does kind of answer our question. What does it mean to be a good, strong human? It means to be humble, to be patient, to be kind and resilient and not give up and work really hard for service of other people. So now we're going to go over the questions that you have to answer with this poem. And I mentioned that we're going to be using textual evidence here. So what you'll do is you will examine the qualities or the virtues or the values, if you will, that are in the questions here. You'll go and look back at the poem. You'll find the lines that show that value and then tell me why you chose it or why it shows that value. Your first question is, what lines in this poem mention examples that illustrate the qualities of self-assurance / self-confidence / self-trust? Why? Next question is, which lines in this poem mention examples that illustrate the quality of balance? Why? So the quality of balance here is kind of finding that good in between. So not being an extreme on either side, but finding the balance of in between. Which lines in this poem mention examples that illustrate the quality of humility, which is being humble, so being not proud or arrogant? Why? Which lines in this poem mention examples of always doing the right thing, even when it is the hard thing? Why? Which lines in this poem mention examples that illustrate the quality of resilience? Resilience is that coming back when you keep getting knocked down. Why? And those are the questions that you have to focus on for today. So like I said, reflect on the values that are in the question, turn back to the poem itself, find some lines that show or illustrate that value, and make sure you copy and paste those into your answer. Then don't forget to tell me why. So this is you explaining why those two lines illustrate that value. So what I was doing throughout this lecture is I was analyzing these lines, line by line, stanza by stanza, and I was telling you or explaining to you what they meant. So now you have to do that for me. So you choose the lines that illustrate resilience. You tell me why. All right, have a good day.